Ah, it's Amphorus.
どうしてブリテンにありえない
It's Amphorus, but they're... Ah, it's funny. Guys. What was that? What the hell was that story, dude? Like, Hoyo had a year, an entire year ever since that announcement, to cook this for something really exciting. Because you have the renowned Fate series collabing with the HSR series, the Honkai Star Rail series. They had so much potential to have many characters engaging with each other in the most exciting ways. The ball was starting to roll with the Saber and Archer reveals. They look real good. And then came along the story. Which, by the way, I will talk about spoilers here. Just a heads up. This was just like, what? 4 to 6 hours of just like mostly fluff or just nothing. This is just like hogwash, it felt like. So where do I start here? So the story for this collab comprises of, well, of course, the Holy Grail War. It kind of loosely portrays the Holy Grail War. I mean, yes, it's all about, like, you know, gathering energy and all that stuff, or mana, or, you know, blood and all that stuff. Sacrifices for the Holy Grail to grant a wish and all that stuff. But that wasn't, of course, one of the biggest deals for me, or deal breakers. The story started off pretty decently, I say. You know, you had the hero summoning, right, coming together almost. You had Saber and Lancer fight it out a little bit. Boot Hill is Lancer's master, who, by the way, has a pretty cool character design. So, you know, it's like, how could they go out the way to design Lancer and not make him a playable character one way or the other? Like, I actually would have been okay if he was a 4-star character, because he's a 3-star character in the Fate Grand Order stuff anyway. So, what's the big deal? What, it would not been anything at least bad for me anyway. I'm not trying to speak for everyone, but for me, that would have been great, because I like Ku. Ku is my guy. I'm a Lancer kind of guy. So for him to not be playable, of course, that was disappointing. But that's not the biggest thing I was like upset about. Well, what I was exactly upset about was just like the majority of the story. So, gosh, so after all that, you know, you have the masters being yourself, Adventuring, Boot Hill, Robin, Scott, of all people, from the IPC, who, by the way, was just, I don't know, man. He was kind of robbed from like one of the greatest pairings of all time within the Hoyo scope, I guess. Anyways, I'll get to them in a bit here, but yeah, there was no writer. There was only just caster and assassin being the other classes. So that of itself is already like, right? But let me also mention about what they did with caster and assassin. And this gets a little weird, especially with assassin. Well, first off, caster was represented by well, an NPC model, first off. And not to mention, this NPC model is the same one for Kindness from the Amphorus stuff. And we all know what happens with her and what she did. So naturally, if you're an HSR player, you'll likely be hating on her ass because of her actions in that story. So they had the audacity to use that as caster instead of actually, you know, going out their way to make caster from the Fate Stay Night part of things. But Assassin was represented by Mr. Rekka technically, or pretty much. So what Mr. Rekka did in this story was essentially fusing with the servant that he summoned. So Mr. Rekka, I guess, fused with another movie director who had flops and stuff like that. But basically, his name was Grady, whatever, and he fused with him. So basically, that was like kind of like their way of cutting corners there by just using Mr. Rekka as the assassin representative. See, well, unless I missed something with Ryder, if you're not gonna have Ryder, then you might as well just like exclude freaking assassin. But I don't know, man. So that was already like one of the telltale signs of like, oh, you know, like the effort was like not entirely there for something that was like set up to be like something with epic proportions. So, you know, the ball was kind of rolling. They were talking to each other. Great. Like, you know, they're starting to interact with each other, get to know each other a little bit. But then you had the freaking silent movie segment. So, because Grady is a movie director in the past, because, you know, in Fate lore, you summon heroes from historical significance or historical passes. There's a whole thing about knowing their real names and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into that too much. But, you know, they have abilities kind of like correlating with their historical significance. So they had Grady, you know, create a domain bubble of sorts, or reality bubble, that they're in some sort of like horror silent movie. And, you know, being a silent movie, there was no voice dialogue. They were completely muted. They were like, what the hell's going on? And they even like played up the joke like, oh, we can't hear each other, but we can see the subtitles. Ha ha, hee hee. So funny, right? Like Deadpool kind of stuff, breaking the fourth wall. Ha ha, right? Like, yeah, it was cute for like 5 minutes, but this went on for like almost a plus hour or hour plus. So what felt like to me was like a third of the freaking story segment by the time that bit was over. So you're telling me already that we waited for a year or a year plus. They had to have had worked on this for more than a year before they even made the announcement. But whatever. You had at least a year to cook up something, and that's a third of the story. Like that's what you're telling me here, is to have characters not talk, have voice dialogue when you have the voices for Archer, at least Saber, and you have the voice for Lancer in one sitting here, and you're gonna have a silent movie segment. For them to not talk with voice dialogue. This is what we got. This is what we got so far already. And this went on for like for the third of the story, felt like. It's that of itself is so baffling to me. They've already dropped the ball there. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, why is this a thing? Why did this happen? Why did it go on for this long? Dude, this was like a there's so much missed opportunity to hear the characters talk to each other and engage and just like really get to know each other, get to really see the clashing personalities like shine. Like, so many possibilities in that little segment. No, we got no voice dialogue for that long. It was ridiculous already. And then there's some in between bits, but then the next major segment is that whole dream sequence where Castor, who was by the way, again represented by that stupid kindness model. Okay, and you know, somewhere in a story, her name gets revealed. Like, Castor, who went by another name of Miss No, thanks to Robin being her false master. Castor was not really summoned by Robin. I guess Robin, even though she has like the command seal, she never had a servant technically. So she, well, either that or Castor was like working behind closed doors with the master of the Holy Grail game, or the Holy Grail War, which was Otis, who is like the leader of the Oak family. The Oak family is like the top family of the entire Penacony planet, whatever. Anyway, so Castor betrays us, and she casts her own domain, her own noble phantasm, I guess, of some kind, to put us in a dreamlike sequence. Of course, this dreamlike sequence separates us from the rest of the characters. First off, we don't even get to see Robin. That's terrible. But we don't really get to see Aventurine all that much either in that segment, if at all. But yeah, we have Archer and Lancer. Just all right, great. But it's just you, Archer, and Lancer in that same dream. But before that, you had a chance to be with Saber, but Saber seemingly was like, "Oh, is this Britain?" And Britain was, I guess, represented by what was fucking a reused asset of Amphris's newest area, where Finan was like, "Oh, you know, it's basically Finan's home village or whatever," and that was used to represent old Britain. Like, what the fuck? That was also like another like mind blown, but I should not be surprised. This is Hoyo after all, of how much they like recycle stuff, especially for Honkai and even Genshin. See, at least with ZZZ, they have like unique NPC models, more likely, and they don't like really use the backgrounds all that much. I mean, to be fair, their storytelling is a lot more simplified than the other two games, to be fair. But at least with NPC models anyway, they make more unique NPC models. So gotta give them that. Anyways, back to here. You're separated and you are stuck in a reused asset. Yeah, you get to know Saber a little more, great. But I wish for that part to also be with Archer, Lancer. He's got a unique model and everything. He got the drip. He's all decked out. So why not have his time too with his master, which is Boot Hill? Which that could have been like a really cool like opportunity to have Boot Hill and Lancer like butt heads or whatever, but they didn't do that at all. So, but Lancer had barely any lines, by the way. So that's really disappointing because again, I'm a Lancer guy. To see my boy just like sidelined like that for so long or this much was another disappointment. And of course, we were also robbed of the Aventurine and Archer segment. That didn't really happen all that much. So you had this dream sequence going on for so long, especially with Trailblazer being like, "Oh, I didn't join the Astro Express. What would have happened if I joined the Astro Express? Oh, day by day base tasks, gotta do them. Oh, what would happen if I joined the Astro Express?" Oh my god, that shit was dragging on for so goddamn long, right? This is what we got for waiting an entire year or plus to have that. That's our Fate collab story, guys. To be only separated from the rest of the gang, it also be robbed of what could have been cool character interactions. Like, bro, how could you fuck that up so hard? You had Archer, you have Aventurine, you have Boot Hill and Lancer. The only thing you got was Trailblazer and Saber. And that wasn't entirely like entertaining to what could have been. Like potentially. Again, yeah, like the beginning was pretty cool. Like, Saber was like, "Oh, I'm hungry," and then Trailblazer was like, "Hey, let's grab some burgers," whatever. That was cute. You know, just like the first 5 minutes of the silent movie segment. Yeah, that was cute, but it just went on for too long. This went on for too long. And finally, when you break out of that reality bubble or dream, whatever, great. Saber and you hold cross the bat and sword or Excalibur. Great. That was cool. But it does not come together because everything else was just dragging on. I was like, my eyes were freaking feeling heavy. Like, it was just a flop, guys. It was just so much of a flop. And then the climactic battle, even that part was like dragging on quite a bit because, you know, Oda's like, oh, you know, the Holy Grail is this, the Holy Grail is that. Like, also, this is a servant. Like, I summon the servant of myself, and then of course the servant turns into just one of those big beetles. What do you call them? Another reused asset. And I get maybe that was writer. That was the writer representative. I don't know. But at that point, I didn't give a fuck anymore because this story was just such a hogwash. It just was hot air with everything what we got here. The cinematic cutscenes were cool, but you can just watch that in the fucking trailer. That's what it is. It's like one of those movies where you could have watched the trailer and got everything out of it. It was one of those moments. So for that quality to be here, the fucking Fate collab is atrocious, man. Absolutely. Alright, so that part was done. Yay, whatever. Oh, the Holy Grail's destroyed. So now we're stuck with the simulated Holy Grail. And that's where we get the event battles. Great, whatever, right? Which, by the way, I did not play those yet. I'm not going to grade on that. But I'm really like mostly grading on the story itself and like the characters. But the playable characters. But the Fate story, that was like something I was looking forward to a lot. And this sucked. It really did. It was extremely mid. You know, in the end, it didn't do much. It did not do anything to redeem it. But that being said, the ending was like, oh, you know, Boo Hill's saying like, hey, I'll buy you a drink sometime to Lancer because, you know, the Holy Grail is gone, so the energy is dispersing, which means it won't be able to sustain the servants anymore. So they're gonna disappear. So they had their little final moments. Saber was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't let fear do this and that, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? But there was a funny little moment with Archer and Aventurine, and Archer was like, hey, your drip is not quite great, but you need to work on that, but I liked you for the most part. That's great, but too bad we didn't get any more of that throughout the story, like little peppers and stuff like that, man. Like, that stuff I was really looking forward to, is the character interactions, but you had the silent movie moment, and you had that stupid dream sequence separating them. So we were robbed of that opportunity. And plus, Emiya and Rin not being in the story somehow, that of itself is a robbery, but that's kind of like the cherry on top of it, of the crappy Sunday. And of course, yeah, there's no Sunday. But anyway, yeah, I mean, easily, fucking March 7th and Don Hung and the rest of the Express, I guess, could have been masters in this little Holy Grail war thing. And the Holy Grail war could have been like a fun thing, easily. I would have been up for that, as long as everything else was fun. The issue that is not fun. And of course, the Holy Grail war of itself was like really safe. Nobody, like barely anyone died, like except for Otis's clone servant thing, which is dumb. And so that's what we got. That's the story, guys, for what, 4 to 6 hours of just mostly just hollow, boring, just fluff. Especially with all the hype built up to it. But there's so many corners cut. Man, like the NPC models, the no voice dialogue for that silent movie segment, the reused asset of Ampharis being Britain. You know, they were mentioning all these other characters too. Dude, like we were robbed also of like what could have been like, you know, the Tosaka Rin skin for Sparkle. Sparkle, you know, like she she literally fits the bill almost, like with the pigtail and everything visually, right? Like she could have easily donned that costume and people would have bought it. Easy money. If you're after money, that's easy money. Just design that costume, that's it. That would have been the skin for her easily. Just things like that, man. That ball was dropped too. Lancer could have been a 4-star servant easily, while pulling for Saber. You get one copy of Lancer, great. You get one copy of Archer, also great. Which, by the way, that's easily like the best part. Is just the playable characters. No shot. Of course, that's pretty obvious. I really like Saber. She does a lot of damage. Simple, great. Archer, potentially better than Saber. That's okay, I guess. But you know, he's a free servant, and you get his light cone for free if you build up enough credit from your summons. Like 200, right? I think it was. Or is it like 100 and something? Anyway, you can easily obtain that when you save up enough. Or yeah. Anyways, the banners go on longer than usual, so that's great. At least they did that much, so that's fine. But everything else, man, like they really fucked up. They just like they had potentially one of the greatest things for Hoyo in a long time, and they really just slipped it up, man. They done fucked it up. So what we got from a multi-million dollar company or billion-dollar company, I don't even know, but was just a botched story. Now, again, I don't know about the event battle, but you know, it's like it's like any other event. I'm just gonna treat it like that. It's like get through it, get the rewards, great, whatever. Oh, you know what? Lancer should have been a reward for the event battle. Done. Like, how hard could it have been? Like, geez Louise, man. The amount of like potential was just being missed. That's unbelievable. Ridiculous. So I guess overall, like, this event was like pretty good for the characters, but in terms of the story, total just disappointment. It was extremely mid. There's only like a couple diamonds in the rough, like, you know, the moment when Robin burned all her command seals or spells to free Miss Note, or aka Asuna. That was cool. That was a cool moment, but everything else did not come together. All those cinematic cutscenes, great, whatever. But that's like a no-brainer. And you can watch that on the trailer anyway. Pretty much like the trailer, like you get a good gist of that. Otherwise, it's just talk of just nothing. It's like it's just talking for the sake of talking. Oh, well, you know, well, the silent movie moment, that's no voice dialogue, but still talking. So you had to read your way. So that's god awful. But man, dude, it's like that's what we get. That's what we were given after all that waiting, man. All that hyping up, the gassing up, everything, man. You know, there also another like missed opportunity too. Scott was in the story, by the way, for those who you know, forgotten already, maybe. Scott pretty much to me is like Shinji. And when you think about that, who could have been his servant? Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh could have been so awesome as a boss, the event boss. Him being not playable, okay, you know, that would have been kind of like unfortunate. But no, but at least him being a boss would have been so like cool potentially. That but of course They just cut them corners, man. They didn't like to put enough effort and time, even though they had like that much time. I'm just disappointed. It's just simply put. So many missed opportunities, and then but that's the fake collab story. That's what we got. Which is like, oh yeah, the irony in that whole bit though is that Lancer actually is the last surviving servant pretty much, because he has the battle continuation ability, and basically he can live a little longer without the Holy Grail, whatever, sustaining. So that's why he's like standing there by the simulated Holy Grail, and you can get to do the event battle, pretty much. It did not live up to the hype. It did not live up to my expectations. It was just terrible. If I had to give it a rating, it's like a 4 out of 10. I think it like is close with the banana story with Rappa. I just could not believe that's what we got. That's the quality of the story that we got. Massively, utterly, just disappointed. Anyways, that's all I got for my ranting and thoughts on the HSR fake collab. What do you guys think? Did you agree? Did you thought it was disappointing? Did you like the story for what it was? Leave it down below. I'd love to read them. I also, oh yeah, this is kind of a random thought. It would have been so funny that if Finan was like British somehow, that would have been funny, because that area being Britain, memes, all that stuff. That Finan would be funny if he had a British accent. Anyways, anything else I might potentially forgetting? Not really. So, anyways, that's all I got. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Sean out. Oh yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe.